Hello and welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University. And welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Sprocket West Kentucky, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky um, and KY Innovation. I'm gonna get used to saying this. It's changed the way that I've done that. So one of these days I'm gonna get that right, and it's gonna be smooth. It's hard to change something that you've been doing for 3 years. Uh, so this is episode 234. So 234 even number means that we're talking about news of the last week or two. Uh, when we do this, it's always the focus about what are those things that we can talk about that we can bring to light that can help you stay safe in cyberspace, helps keep your family safe, and help keep your organization safe. Before I get into the news, which I got some interesting stories for this week, I want to go back to last week's 10 at 10. It was part one of two. I'll finish it next week because the news is every even episode. But it hit a nerve, and it hit a nerve because it's a real issue. Probably more so than any 10 at 10 episode I've had in quite some time. I've had more feedback and more questions and more ask about that. And it was online scams, those scams via social media that are targeting individuals, and what can you do about it? And we'll continue that discussion next week. But just to know, if your organization, you have a group that wants to talk more about it, I'm happy to share, happy to talk more about it. I feel like it's part of my job is to advocate and to help share those challenges and resources that are available to help individuals, and in particular, seniors seem to be some of those that are most often the victim. But with that said, let me dig into the news for this week. First of all, you'll notice that I'm at my home office today. It is 4th of July, so I want to office is closed, but I wanted to make sure we still brought you the 10 at 10 and the news of the week. So the first one we'll talk about is really an interesting one to me. So FBI has warned that there are cyber criminals stealing health data by posing as fraud investigators. So in this case, they're actually posing as healthcare investigators investigating fraud, but they're not. They're scammers. And I say that, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about last week, is, and actually maybe the next the next story as well. What the reason I want to bring it up is that these cyber criminals are sending emails and text messages to patients and um, um, healthcare providers, disguising them as legitimate communications from their trusted healthcare authorities. They're talking about information. In order to, if I'm going to investigate potential fraud, I need to know some of your personal information. So they're designed to pressure victims into to disclosing information to these scammers, uh, whether that be health information, just general personal information, or even financial information. So it's a challenge, and it's one that has been effective. So be super careful about trusting people that call, even if they say you're your doctor, even if you are actively a patient and undergoing treatment. Just be careful. Just make sure that you can verify they are who they say they are before you start giving out any of that information. And to that point, here's the next story, and this one's quite remarkable. And I'm not even going to be able to get all the details correct on this, but the point of this is that there was some North Korean uh, criminals that were able to target a company in Atlanta in particular. There were 5 people that were arrested, but the catch of this is that these criminals got one of their people hired by this company. So this employee of this company was able to um, remote employment. That's a challenge with remote workers, is that you really don't know who they are, but using fraudulent identities, they got hired by this company. The employee that was hired was able to change information on invoices, and the criminals were able to ultimately steal a significant amount of money. Now this was in crypto, but the point of it is that when you're hiring people, and I know this has been an issue, something that we're concerned about at Murray State. I don't know that it's been an issue, but something that we've been concerned about at Murray State. A lot of employers are really concerned about this. Is that you really don't know who the people are that you're hiring if they're always remote. If they came in to your office and you're able to verify they are who they say they are, again, just like the previous story, that would give us some ability to have some comfort in who we're hiring. Um, there are instances where criminals are paying uh, Americans to act like a worker to get hired, and then ultimately it's an international person. There's a lot of scams and a lot of ways that criminals are trying to get access. In some of these cases, it's to be able to monitor and see what's going on in the internal company. Some of these cases, like this, if you have internal access and you don't have zero trust, you don't have separation of duties, you don't have some of those things in place, then yes, an employee can get in and alter a invoice, and ultimately it could pay the wrong individual. You can illegally scam a lot of money out of a company. Something to be worried about or to be careful of. Next story. Um, I often will go back to different studies and tools that are looking at what's the trends for this year and what's going on. And going back to the 2025 Verizon uh, study that is commonly referred to in cybersecurity circles, there's an expanding web. Um, our organizations are using an expanding web of vendors. That expanding web of vendors is increasing supply chain cyber risk. And that number has tripled. Doubled. Third party breaches have doubled um, over the last year. Now, the number wasn't extremely large to begin with. I think it went from 15 to 30% of respondents have seen that. But the point is that supply chain component is really important. And when I say supply chain, yes, I need to make sure that the people making my pen aren't putting a bug in it. Yes, I get that. Or that if I have a computer chip in my car, it's not sending information back to Russia, or whatever it might be. All of those things are important. But what about those things like software that you can't touch? Or third party vendors or managed service providers that you're giving trust and access to your network? Those things are also really important. And those things are also very concerning as well. So we've got to keep an eye on all of those pieces. Um, that is, I mean, there's a number of things to look on here. 39% talk about data overload as their biggest supply chain cybersecurity risk. Difficulty in assessing the security posture of third-party vendors. Absolutely. So there's a number of pieces in here that are certainly worth looking at and considering, but that is certainly one that we want to talk about. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about. I'm certainly running out of time. So there is a cyber criminal organization, Scattered Spider activity is certainly drawing attention. It is not a new organization, and frankly, we've talked about attacks over the last few years that have come as a result of this organization. Caesars, MGM Resorts, are both ones that were targeted by this organization. But this article, and you can click on the link and take a look at it. Um, there's a few key takeaways that investigators are looking at from their latest round of attacks on insurance firms. First of all, is that they're using identity based TTPs, or what it's called, but they're using identity based tools, techniques, and procedures to break in. That's the tool that they're using: identity based breaches or identity based attacks. And so it is, they're trying to assume the identity of an individual. So that's the first. Now, is that something that is extremely different than what way it has been? No. They have used credential harvesting. They've used business email compromise. They have they have used a number of different the fact that we're all tired of multi-factor authentication, number of different pieces. They've been using that to their advantage. But the last thing I'll say, and because I'm certainly way over on time, is that they're also targeting help desk. They're targeting our help desk. Help desk are by definition helpful. And so they're calling and saying that there's somebody, they have some information based on this previous identity based attack that they did, and they can share information and get additional information. And it's something that we have to be concerned about. It's something that we really need to be worried about, something that is going to continue to be the case. And if they're doing it and they're finding it useful, then others are going to do it as well. All right. Again, I'm way over on time. I apologize for that, but I just want to say thank you for the time. Thank you for the feedback. Continue to give me that feedback. It's really helpful. And I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.